How's everybody doing? Well, we are almost getting close to the Christmas holidays. Well. I'm still trying to put together what I'm going to do. Maybe maybe tomorrow or Wednesday about doing a special video for Christmas, doing the predictions for the new year per sign for the whole year. Now I'm gonna break it up in quarters. You know? So I'm thinking of doing that. Um, let's see. Also, that's basically what I like to do. Then I have other things in the mix, and then I'll probably take a mini vacation and go somewhere, maybe Mexico or maybe Brazil. I'm not quite sure yet for the Christmas holidays. Hmm? Okay. Oh, we did finish the Bible Code series with the Bible. You know, we've saturated the extraterrestrial texts that are found in the Bible, and I'm moving towards the Book of Enoch. So later this evening, I'm going to do another video for the Bible Code, but I'm going to call it the Enochian Code and discuss. There's so many topics to discuss when it comes to the mysteries of the universe. That's in the Book of Enoch. So I gotta see what I'm going to use and what my guides uh, will instruct me to say. Okay, let's start with the Chronicle of Mars, part 4 of 7. Okay, in this particular timeline, uh, we're still in the Polarian epoch, but in the third period of the Polarian epoch. Um, it's not quite clear the length of millions of years or hundreds of millions of years. It's not quite clear. After the third period of the Polarian epoch, we move into the Hyperborean epoch. Right? But we're still in the Polarian, in which life on Earth existed at the poles, and there was no landmass, only at the poles. And human beings lived in the pole region, which is why it's called the Polarian epoch. Remember, the Earth was still being casted off into space. The spinning rotation of the Earth was very fast. The centrifugal force was very fast. So chunks of the Earth, which was really water, was being casted out into space. Again, the Earth was still trying to take shape. Right? Here we have a situation in which, there's what I put here. Oh my God. Do you believe that? I forgot the glasses. Hold on. Hi, how's everybody doing? Okay. Oh, right. Sometimes I can't even read my own handwriting. Okay. Yeah, the solar system was still in its infancy, even at the third period of the Polarian epoch. Okay. Um, Many of these archons were inferior beings, and even further still, many of them were stragglers coming from other solar systems, other corners of the universe. They themselves not being fully evolved in their own realities in which they come from. Some of these archons went rogue and ended up in our system. And at the same time, many were solar, yes. So it seems like there was a but it kind of makes sense. We have to look at the synchronicities or the correspondences. Since our solar system was still in its infancy and was just taking shape, it wasn't even, none of the planets were solid yet. So it makes sense that the beings that were coming here were also unevolved and not fully adulterated according to their own makeup, according to their own specific gods and their own particular systems. Why or how did they end up in our system, coming from who knows how many millions or hundreds of millions of light years away from the corners of the cosmos? That's not clear. And it's certainly not clear in the Akashic records. But there are many layers to the Akashic records. So I guess if you really do want to know, if you really do want to find out, I guess you can. I try to stay as minimally as possible in the Akashic records looking. I don't like to stay in too long because it's really immense energy. It can really harm you if you stay in there too long. Okay. The solar system at this time in the third period of the Polarian epoch was accelerating, and it was also, what did I write here? Fragmenting. If you remember from astronomy science in high school or even college, um, our solar system was going through collisions. The planets were colliding with each other and breaking apart. And then they would form again. And then they could collide again. And this was something that kept happening back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And process of the final resting of the solar system, which happened 7 trillion years later. Okay? And not 7 billion or 3.5 billion, like scientists says, but 7 trillion. In the Bible, in Genesis, reference is made of that. Right? The God made the world in 1 day, 2 days. That 1 day is equal to 1 trillion years. The second day, 2 trillion years. The third day, 3 trillion years. And if you read the passages in the Bible when it talks about the formation of the solar system, it tells you the different stages. And we know from linear science that these collisions and resting phases and collisions happen hundreds of millions of years out of span. Right? So that's what's meant by fragmenting. Just when you thought everything was solid, maybe in different orbits, they would collide again. It was it was like just continue. It's like when you wash clothes, and then you wash it again, doing another rinse, and then a final wash, and then you put the clothes in the dryer. That was kind of like the process that our solar system was going through. So, just when you thought it was forming and taking some kind of order, there will be collisions again. That kind of chaos had a correspondence on Earth equivalent to parts of the Earth being casted off into space because of the speed of its centrifugal force. Why was the Earth spinning so fast like that? Because our solar system in particular was expanding, accelerating, and fragmenting, and crashing, and breaking, and forming. Now, who knows what was happening in other corners of the cosmos, pulling in the fabric of space-time, causing our system to go through these collisions. I think it was just part of the process of forming the solar system. Whether this is something that happens across the board throughout the cosmos is not clear. In a way, I kind of think it is, but I leave room in the psyche for exceptions. Exceptions that at this time in our advancement in technology and science, we are not clear. Okay. Again, because the solar system was accelerating and fragmenting as above, so below, the law of correspondence. These stragglers and archons were equally in the same rate and state of evolution. Hmm. One thing, though, after the final collision, where a resting place was happening, or I would say the first phase of resting state of the solar system. Now, how it looks today, though, it looked different then. Then it will go into a collision again, and it will start all over again. Okay? It was at this point that the heart chakra of the solar system was being developed. If you look at the solar system like a human body, you see the same correspondence at above or below. See, we have a chakra system, right? We have a chakra system, right? So just like we have a chakra system, the earth has a chakra system. Our solar system has a chakra system, right? The solar plexus for us is our stomach area. For the solar system, the sun itself is the representative of the solar plexus. So if you have that, then certainly we have the other chakras in correlation to our planet and to our solar system. Okay? And this obeys the laws of correspondence, law of correspondence. So at this time, the heart chakra was being formulated, but it was formulated as a germinal seed. Okay? And other germinal seeds of what would take place on the earth started to happen at this time. Even though the earth was still being cast off into space because it was still molten, the germinal seed was being implanted in which our trees will grow, our rocks, minerals, plants, insects, animals, and eventually humans. Okay? The germinal seed was planted, but it was millions of years, or maybe hundreds of millions of years later, when things actually started to occur. Now we're moving into the Hyperborean epoch. Okay. Right, the heart chakra is acquired by the solar system. Okay, and at this time, many new archons or beings had access to the earth. Some were advanced and some were stragglers. Okay? And the ones that were advanced were the lords. They're called lords, right? They're like the lords of form. These beings gave us the physical body of anything on earth, including the physical structure of the planet and the solar system. Then you have the lords of mind. These came and gave us our mind that woke us up. That's the Adam and Eve story. Okay? But the lords of mind did not come then. The lords of form have arrived. And they were the ones that started to implant the germinal seed in which will give in the future the life essence that we see today as planet Earth and our solar system. Uh-huh. Also, in this process of implanting the germinal seed, the star seeds, which later became humans, like myself, and many of you, started to make their presence known. So many star seeds have lived many hundreds of millions of years, not just in the solar system, but in other solar systems. So it was around this time that maybe some of you were in this phase trillions of years ago. Right? But it was definitely at this point of the Polarian epoch in the third period that the star seeds were, which will later become humans, and that's one category. Then you have what's called virgin spirits. Virgin spirits will eventually also become humans. So they're different categories, but the star seeds will be the ones that will be much older because I just forgot the former that I mentioned, or were new souls. They'd never been human before. right? Whereas the star seeds have been not human, but they had consciousness and an elevation that would allow them to remember past lives and experiences before they were given a mind comparable to this system by the Lord's mind. Okay? That's what makes starseeds so advanced and psychic and clairvoyant and clairaudient and have special powers. Here's where you have earth angels coming from, and you have fire angels coming from, and water angels coming from, and air angels coming from. These are all souls that are in themselves, myself included, exude essence of magic and muse energy in itself, okay? And a great body of knowledge of the cosmos from hundreds of millions of years or even billions of years. Okay? So this is coming. So something is taking shape, right? All right. Yeah, and I just mentioned that the germinal seed of all life becomes implanted on Earth at this time. So these are the archons that were present at this time. And again, these are categories, not all of them. Okay. This one. It's crazy. He's got hands coming out of his ears. Looks real weird. It almost feels like uh, whatever god of the system that this being comes from was experimenting, creating different parts, I think that having two hands, two legs, a head, eyes, nose, I don't think that's something that happened like at the first draft. I think it was an evolution of a trial and error. And this is evident because we see this here. We see large ears and arms coming out of ears, and this being screams. And when he screams, he creates shifts, paradigm shifts in the solar system. It's very immature energy, a straggler. It screams and doesn't know when to stop. So other beings have to stop it from screaming because then the solar system will never come to rest. It will always be colliding because these are some of the archons that cause those collisions by screaming. It's weird. Mm-hmm. And it has a serpent, kind of a crescent serpent on its head, and its name is Sita. Hmm? Sita. I'm sorry. It carries the vibration of Mars and Aries, constellation of Aries. And then this one is called Shots. And this one it comes from the constellation of Scorpio with the vibration of the moon. And this being has no face, has no mouth, but covers its chin, supposedly where a mouth would be. And then it holds his or her breast in one hand, like squeezing the tip. And that, I found that so funny. When I saw it, I was like, what you doing? What are you doing? And we don't know if it's a she or he. I'm going to say that it's a she because this is a shell, or like an oyster, or a clam, or mussels, but it's alive, and it looks like the vulva of a woman's anatomy too. Mm-hmm. And which I think is hinting at the moon sign and the feminine energy of Cancer. Okay? It has no weapon, and these here look like organ pipes, like from an organ in a church, and it's alive. And these are eyes that open, and it flutters, and it's very murky. And it was one of the first scavenger stragglers that help cultivate what today is our oceans. Yep, yep. Then we have Aim. And this one, again, because we're dealing with the formation of the heart chakra of the solar system, is Venus vibration from the constellation of Cancer. But there's nothing loving looking about this Venus. And it definitely has a weapon. Okay? And it seems to be unpredictable energy and gives an energy of passivity, which can be translated into maybe love. Because what is love? Well, we're comparing that to a solar system. We don't even quite sure what it is when it defines what humans do or feel, let alone these guys. So it's not quite clear the role that they function because he looks very warlike and he definitely has a weapon. The snake has a life of its own. It has a mouth, eyes, and it moves independently of the will of this archon. Right? And the name, yeah, and it's not quite clear what his function is, but he was always present. And I get a feel because they just gave me a tip that the serpent will coil itself around the circumference of the earth and spin it. So it might have been in charge in the actual orbital movement of the planet itself and many of its kind, and causing the water, because it wasn't really land, just at the pole, to fly out into space. And then, of course, we have Jehovah again reappearing on the scene, but this time looking quite different. I did mention to you that I do have a book on the many different names of Jehovah, and the different manifestations of Jehovah according to those specific names, and also the vibration. Here, it's a shapeshifter, but it's still Lucifer because it still gives luminous light, and it resembles the rainbow. So I'm getting to, I suspect that the spectrum of light that today is the rainbow began to make its presence known, but maybe not fully manifested like it is today. But again, it was the germinal seed that will because you have to create the atmosphere, you have to create this, blah, blah, blah. So this was all part of the germinal seed. So it's like working and preparing. It's like a mother preparing a dinner table before the kids come home and the husband comes home from work. So it was like preparing the table. So this is what was happening at this time, right? So it seems like, and then there were so many other stragglers and other beings coming, and it almost feels like they were looking at what life on Earth was beginning to take shape and form. It's like they were taking a first-hand seat to see what life forms was developing, because it seemed like in every solar system was governed by different gods now, not Jehovah. Jehovah only rules this one. And this is truth in occult philosophy. This is known. But there has to have been some kind of fighting going on among them, fighting for some kind of sovereignty, because the solar system was still in collision, right? Or going through a second or third collision. And that's kind of like it. That's kind of like it. It was a preparation, but of course we do have 7, right? So we're moving towards something. But we're still talking about Mars because the planet Mars was conjunct to the Earth. So it seems like Mars was a station planet for beings to come to Earth. Venus And the other planets that are near the Earth today were not in the same position as they are today. But Mars was. Remember, it collided with the Earth to introduce the iron. So this is what opened the bridge for that. So I guess in the other series, I don't know if they're gonna give me more chronicles. It might create a longer series where things begin to kind of make sense and we can get some kind of concentric order. But right now, it's like different timelines. Okay, guys, thank you so much. That's all I had to say about the Chronicle of Mars Part 4. Okay? There you go. Please donate. Please give. I'm becoming a little bit annoyed with that, but it's too calm, you know. So guys, thank you so much. I wanted to discuss though, since we're talking about timelines, I wanted to talk about how the timeline was introduced, or the law of polarity was introduced on the planet, because we do have it in the solar system. What is the correspondence on Earth? You'd be surprised to hear the answer. Cain and Abel. The story of Cain and Abel. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this resonates.